Friends and family, welcome to another live broadcast brought to you by Premier's Turning Point, which your host, Bishop Dr. Uton Lang, and co-host, Overseer Franklin Williamson. We pray and hope that something that is being said today will bless your soul and spirit. Please take a quick moment to like and share this broadcast with your friends and family. Thank you again for joining us. Let's go into our live program.
Blessings, blessings, one and all, and welcome. This is Bishop Dr. Lang on another episode of Premier's Turning Point. We hope everybody are, really enjoying your summer, despite the pandemic, trying to get closer to the Lord over this time, and also resting from worry and have really great expectations for the things that the Lord are doing. We are coming to you live again today, and my co-host should be joining us. But we wanted to continue with our new format of about 20 minutes. We're going to talk about updates. And this time we're still going to do a coronavirus update, being that it's still massively affecting all of us. And then in the last 20 minutes, we'll talk more about some current events and what is going on in the world around us. So make sure you have your, you get on with us. Make sure you're liking and you're sharing. And you're also subscribing to our YouTube channel to make sure you get all of the information. You want to make sure that you are, in tune with what's going on and know whatever else is up, so that you can, be well informed and make the best decision that you can in your life, for your health, your well-being, for your spiritual well-being. You want to make sure that you're in tune and communicating with the Lord. So we want to cover all of that to make sure everybody is doing well. Everybody is facing, this pandemic with all the necessary knowledge and information that you have, and you're just looking ahead for an awesome life, because when the crisis in the vessel, we can smile at the storm. When the Lord is, leading our lives, it doesn't matter how difficult the time is. So we're going to start off, talking a little bit about a little bit of an update. Feel free, if you have questions or comments, to make them on the Facebook page or on YouTube, so that we can join in and, get all of that information. And we'll be happy to answer questions, to share information, and get you on the same page. That is really what we're about. We're about, making sure that everybody is, getting all the information that they need, and everybody knows exactly what's going on. So this is very important to us. Something that is important to me, that all the necessary information is being given out, and people are coming to the knowledge of what it is that they need to do. So we want everybody to join in with us, and just really make sure you understand what's going on. You know what is going forth, and you're getting updated as much as you can on all of the information. We want you to have the right information so that you can make the best decision that you have made concerning, especially right now, we're talking about the COVID-19 crisis and pandemic, and we want to make sure that you are understanding and know everything that is about to happen. So with that, I just wanted to turn to the stats and what is going on with the current COVID-19 pandemic, and especially the what's going on with the Delta variant, which has really seemed to be taking over and is the dominant variant that is in the U.S. Over the last 7 days, there's been about 66,000 plus, an increase in 64% increase in the amount of COVID-19 cases that have been identified. Of course, the most dominant variant, as we said, is the Delta variant. Over the past week, we've seen a 7.8% increase in the average positivity. and the amount of tests reported. And so we're seeing that's over the past day, 7% increase over the past week, about 31% increase in the amount of tests. In terms of the vaccinations that have been giving out, so far, we see that there's been about 163 million people who are fully vaccinated, which is about 49% of the population. And we see that being a slight increase. Hospitalizations have been up dramatically, about 5,047 over the past 7 days, which is about a 46% increase. So we see on the trend in hospitalization that we see what's going on right now. The ages have changed. Now we're seeing the average is between 18 and 49 years old. And we see that's where most of the cases are taking place right now. So it's important for you to realize that there is a definite increase. There is a definitely increase in the Delta variant. And in general, there's definitely an increase in the amount of cases that are being reported. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the other things that we're seeing. But one of the things that is important that you realize is that this is not going away. As a matter of fact, from you listen to the statistics, we've seen an increase in the amount of this. And then the main problem that we're seeing is still the amount of immunizations are not catching up with the amount of the virus that is around. So we're seeing a lot more of the virus around, and not as many people have been immunized. So, and thank heavens, very lately, we're seeing a slight increase again in the amount of people getting the vaccination because of, everything that's going on. But in general, that rate is not caught up with even the rate of the recurrence that we're seeing. And of course, you know that the various rules have been changed, have been adjusted. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's going on with the CDC, the various new recommendations that they have in terms of mask wearing. And just so you know, they didn't make a major announcement over the past week with a change in their recommendation for mask wearing, especially even on the inside. I know a lot of states have changed their rules, and so we're seeing a lot of places where vaccinations are just where mask wearing has been turned aside, and now everybody's there, without masks. But there is new recommendations from the CDC, and it's become necessary because of some new discovery that they have, especially when it comes to the Delta variant. So a new study shows that the Delta COVID-19 variant produced similar amounts of virus in vaccinated and unvaccinated people if they get infected. So this is a key motivation behind the federal guidance that now recommends, they didn't mandate, but they recommend most fully vaccinated Americans wear masks indoors. So basically, the new recommendation is for masks indoors, for all people, whether vaccinated or not, because they say that the vaccination makes it less likely that you'll catch COVID-19 in the first place. But for those who do, this data suggests that you could have a similar tendency to spread it as unvaccinated folks. So hear me clearly. So this high viral, we're seeing what they call high viral loads, which is the amount of virus that is in the system that they detect. There's a high risk of transmission the higher the viral load. Unlike with other variants, vaccinated people infected with Delta can transmit the virus. All right, that's a very key point that they have now made and they have shared with everybody else. And so this is something to be very much aware about. So the study that was published by the CDC on Friday, it actually describes a 469 Massachusetts residents who were infected in a July outbreak in Barnstable County, which includes the summer vacation destination in Provincetown. No deaths were reported among them. However, about 74% or 346 cases had been fully vaccinated. Of those cases, 79 reported symptoms. Generally, sequence cases reveal the Delta variant as the main culprit. So the researchers found evidence that viral loads were similar among 127 fully vaccinated people and 84 others who were unvaccinated. So partially vaccinated or whose vaccination status was unknown, everybody, they were just seeing just a higher viral load. So viral load is a proxy again for how likely someone might be to transmit the virus to others. So therefore, we see there was a recommendation on Tuesday because of the high COVID-19 transmission that we should resume wearing masks indoors. Again, it's a recommendation by the federal government, and this recommendation would actually go for over 75% of the population that lived in areas. So their findings were, and their recommendation is that you would, really, go out of your way to try to wear a mask, even especially in certain areas. So the finding that the Delta variant resulted in similar viral loads was pivotal discovery, leading the CDC to make this unprecedented mask recommendation. So everybody, I know some people are saying, well, the CDC and everybody is going back and forth. And one day they're telling you to wear the mask, and the other day they're telling you not. Well, of course, it's going to change based on research, based on more information that we are receiving. In one of the stories I saw this week also, they're saying that the Delta variant is almost as effective as the chicken pox and actually a little bit more virulent. So question remains is, prior to Delta, vaccination was known to impact factors that likely influence transmission. Not only did vaccinated people tend to have lower viral loads, but they also had milder symptoms and were sick for less time. Now, this is prior to Delta. Now, with the Delta variant, we're seeing that, the viral loads are just as high in vaccinated versus unvaccinated people. And of course, the chance of transmission seems to be greater. So the CDC document cited reports indicating the variant might cause more serious disease as well. So even with similar viral loads, it's not a foregone conclusion that vaccinated people are necessarily as contagious as unvaccinated. So it's not concluded yet. But what they're telling us and what we're seeing is that even vaccinated people are having a higher viral load, which makes it more likely that they're going to transmit, especially when we're talking about the Delta variant. So you know what? Guess what? We all need to be aware of what's going on. I know there's still a lot of people who are hesitant about getting vaccinated. Well, one thing I want to say, the vaccine is around long enough now for a lot of people to make decisions. I would suggest, just as the CDC, that everybody be vaccinated. Nobody's forcing, but there's a suggestion because in so doing, we're going to cut down on the spread in a couple ways. Number one, we're going to see less variants coming around. And number two, if we are, immune, then there's less vectors for this vaccine to replicate in, and then give us a lot more less chance of getting infected. So the new report says that microbiological studies are required to confirm these findings. Yes, they need to confirm all of these findings, but they have to do more studies. But this is even more reason to get vaccinated. Even with Delta, COVID-19 vaccines still reduce the spread of the virus. Moreover, vaccinated people are far less likely to end up in the hospital. I've seen a lot of stories and read a lot this week about people who are now, very remorseful because now they're sick and in the hospital and they weren't vaccinated and wishing they could go back and change the clock. So I just want everybody just to be aware of what is going on. Among the Massachusetts residents in the latest study, none died and only 5 were hospitalized. However, remember to say there was quite a bit of them that were immunized. So of those 5, 1 person was unvaccinated and had an underlying medical condition, and 4 were vaccinated. Among the vaccinated group, 1 had received the Pfizer vaccine, and the remaining 3 had received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The vaccinated individuals range from age 20 to 7 and 2 had underlying health issues. So additional infections were identified among visitors from at least 22 other states who visited the areas from July 13 through 17. So thousands gathered for summer festivals, and infected people reported going to densely packed indoor and outdoor events. And we see all of this is stuff that transpires. And although these findings motivate the CDC to update its guidance for areas with higher levels of viral transmission, the study knows that this county was not one of those areas until the outbreak. So therefore, there's a lot of places that we're not sure what's going on unless there's an outbreak that's going to identify that. So the recommendation in general, so that is really for everyone to be aware of this information, this updated information, making sure that you're getting yourself, properly covered, vaccinated, and then of course, continue wearing the mask as much as possible to decrease the spread of this virus. So COVID-19 pandemic is still here. We're still dealing with it on a daily basis. And even for the churches, I know we were just about ready to relax our rules to allow people who are vaccinated to have that option. But with these new findings and what is going on, I think we need to continue wearing the mask for everyone for the near future. We will ease it for those who are vaccinated and the preaching or the choir potentially. But away from that, we're going to continue the mask because this is the one thing that we have that can help decrease the spread. Because even in the people that are vaccinated, as we're seeing, if the Delta variant become aggressive in this area, then that will not be much, comfort because it would still potentially could spread. And the other reasoning is we have quite a few children that are under the age of 12 who cannot be vaccinated because there's none available at this current time. But, until when those are available, then we can look at it to potentially make some changes in our rules. So we want everybody to, be up to speed on what's going on with the COVID-19 vaccine. Making sure that you know the latest information and just go ahead in really covering yourself, making sure that you want to you making sure that you're making the right decision that is going to help you in the long run. So it's very important that everybody is aware of this. Don't get too upset with people that you see wearing masks. I know a lot of people seem to be getting upset. I went to the store. There's signs that masks are not required, even though they don't clarify to say masks are not required for vaccinated people. All kinds of stuff that is going on out there. So we want you to really, really make sure you are aware, of what's going on in your area. Make sure you're well connected, well covered, and you know what is to be expected. So again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to answer them. pflmi.org is our website. You can reach out to us on Messenger and Facebook, on any one of the available things any one of the available media. You'll be able to send us a message, and we're more than happy to to help you. It's really it's really a time that is difficult because we're facing so many different things, and this pandemic seems to be not wanting to leave. But what I want you to do today is to get the information, as we said, talk to your primary care physician, consult your pastor, consult the Bible, consult the Lord, pray, come up with a good decision that you can making sure that you are well rounded, well covered, and you know what's going on. So with that, we're gonna take a quick little segment break for some announcements. I know what we have coming up, which is the major thing that we have coming up is the our anniversary, and that is coming up very soon. Friday the 13th, we're going to have a dedication and anniversary service at 7:30 p.m. Saturday the 14th, we're going to be in the RV Inman Park for a time of fellowship, food, and fun. Everyone is invited. And then for the 15th, we will be having our anniversary service at 4 p.m. in that Sunday afternoon. Remember, if you're planning to come, please just inform us so we can make sure we have enough accommodation. If you all the churches, we already reach out to you. Please respond. Let us know if you're planning to come and how many people, so we can gauge, what preparations we need to make, and then we can, let people know how many people. If it's, more, if you're bringing 50 people, maybe too much, but below that, we can have a discussion. So we want everybody to reach back out to us. Also, we are doing a journal, which is going to be online on Facebook on our webpage. The deadline is passed, but for all the pastors and churches listening, if you get it in today, get what would be your greeting along with a picture to media@pflmi.org. We will consider getting it in, but today is the final deadline. So, but we really want everybody to join us in this time of celebration. Remember, our church is located at 230 Davidson Avenue in Somerset, New Jersey. Our Sunday morning services are at 9 a.m. And again, feel free to come on in at the point of time. You don't have to pre-register. You just have to come in. When you get to the door, there's a sign. If you have any of those symptoms, you need to let us know so that we can advise you. So again, we really, really appreciate you all joining in, listening in. Please join us in that for this time of celebration. It's going to be an awesome time. We have a couple awesome speakers, and we have great things that will be going on. So again, those are our major, break announcements of what's going on over at Premier Family Life. I think Overseer Williamson is not joining us today, but nothing that I think is immensely coming up, but we can move along. Just one last thing before we move along. I know one person had a comment that they feel like they've been held hostage by the people who refuse to get vaccinated. God provided an answer to our prayers, but people still don't realize. This is one sentiment of one of our persons on the line today. I want everybody just to really think carefully, about this pandemic and the things that the Lord has provided, and are we taking advantage of, the vaccine that God has, provided through, science and His working. So with that, we are going to transition to our next area that we're going to talk about a little bit. And August, actually, the 30th of August is National Grief Awareness Day. The National Grief Awareness Day is dedicated to raising awareness of the myriad ways in which individuals cope with loss. There's a lot of resources that are out there that you can, tap into. I know grief is one of the things that is plaguing a lot of people after a loss. And this was there's actually a grief awareness. This day was set apart to remind us that, there's a lot of grief and suffering. And as the church, we can go a long way in helping to reach out to people that are suffering. I think some of the times we think the church is just to tell people, you're going to go to heaven or hell. Yes, that is a very important point, because as I preached today at a funeral, this is decision time, and you have to decide where you're going to spend eternity. But while you're here, there is things that affects us, even though we're Christians, and even those, but there's so much. Grief is one of the oldest and most enduring aspects of the human experience. Now, if you haven't experienced grief, it's unfortunately likely to happen. all of us at some point in time. The term grief encompasses all the emotions around loss, mourning, and is defined as the external expression of pain. Bereavement is another commonly used term for grief. Throughout human history, there have been many attempts to describe and heal grief, and they have changed significantly over the years. Due in part to our vastly improved physical and mental health care, grief is understood far differently today than even a little as 100 years ago. While we often have the privileges, of not only losing our loved ones when they are at the ripe age, comfortable and with family, nearly this is relative been not the case always throughout history. A lot of things have made that differently. A lot of hospice care people are more in tune to what's going on. Families get together a little bit more, so we see that burials often is a family. Often in family groupings occur throughout the world. In many cultures, family and friends attend funerals or certain types of wakes to honor the deceased. Though mourning traditions vary from culture to culture, these aspects of the ritual often persist. So almost every culture has some kind of mourning support for one another. And we see one thing we're proposing as I talk about this topic is, as the people of God, we should be reaching out to one another, being there for one another, and so being of good support while we encourage. In part due to the frequency of death and grief, the topic was poorly researched or treated until about the 1900s. In 1917, famous psychologist Sigmund Freud wrote, "Grieving is a natural process that should not be tampered with." So this encapsulates the sentiment, well, grieving is a part of life and needs no special attention. But as the century wore on, however, there came to be more interest in grief and its stages. And just a little bit of a death and dying, research session. But Elizabeth Kubler-Ross famously wrote her consequential book on death and dying in 1969. The book laid out the 5 stages of grief that many are familiar with today under the name the Kubler-Ross method. It was easily accepted, and grief was managed along a distinct timeline for years. Simon Shishorn Rubin put forth the 2-track model of bereavement to further explain the phenomenon in 1981. Just giving you a little bit of history. However, it was only in 1996 to 2006 that great headway was made in the understanding of grief as something that resisted strict and chronological definition. So in the 2000s, a more fluid understanding of grief is kind of what we're seeing. So you see this as process over time, and I know a lot of time in the church world, people are a little bit skeptical about supporting and dealing with grief. Some people have put it in different ways. Well, listen, it's natural part of life, so just deal with it. But I think we need to realize that we need to spend time helping others, and being there for one another, and helping others to really come to the knowledge to how they can deal with this. So here's a couple of things that you may want to do as we look at grief. You want to support a grieving friend. If a friend has been honest with you and shared a current story of grief or loss, really support them. Be there for them. Be that extra shoulder for them to lean on. Share with them the Word of God. Encourage them from the Word of God. And while you're acknowledging that this is something real, just be there for them. Also, we want everybody to engage in self-care. In the thrones of grief, a normal human response to loss, self-judgment, and anger are not productive emotions. Rather than attempting to push yourself onto an acceptable grieving time, and remember there is no one path that is for everyone, but you got to get yourself on the path and deal with caring for yourself, and really making an effort. Um, there is a couple of pointers I wanted to make. Of course, feel free to join in with the conversation by sharing a comment or letting us know a question that you have. But there is 5 important facts about grief that I want to make right now. Number one, myth: grief equals mourning. Though not widely known, it's true that mourning and grief cannot be used interchangeably. Grief is the internal pain associated with loss, while mourning is the external expression of that pain, and is often that it often facilitates grief. So, people that are mourning or crying and stuff, yes, that's an outward expression, but, sometimes they need a little bit more, compassionate care from each other to help them to get at that grief and help them to deal with it. Uh, Grief often comes with secondary losses. While the trauma of losing a loved one is hard enough, those in mourning frequently must cope with secondary associated loss, like loss of financial security or loss of housing. So there's a lot of secondary losses that may go along with grief. So when a person is in the midst of their grief, you need to help them to see what it is that it may still be the secondary things that we may potentially be able to help with. Number three, another myth: grief happens in clearly defined stages. While the professionals have identified significant stage of grief, it is possible and even common for those working through grief to skip step entirely, have more time on one reaction era than the other. So it's not one thing fits all. And even though we may have a definition of the stages, and people most likely will go through the stages, it is important to understand it's different for everyone. Number four, grief requires effort. Grief work, in parentheses, is a term often used to refer to a grief response. The physical and emotional toll of grief deeply affects the lives of those going through it. It's important to engage in self-care throughout. That's one thing. So we got to help people that are grieving, that are going through, to realize that, they shouldn't just leave themselves up, but we're going to be there to support them and help them. And number five is another myth: grief can be completely resolved. Sadly, many people who have experienced loss report that grief in some form or another continues for the rest of their lives. They may now know how to cope with it, but like many other mental ailments, it can recur in varying levels of intensity for years. So you need to make sure that you're helping people that are going through, and people that are grieving. Don't be upset if years pass and something kind of came up that gets you back into that stage. You need to realize that this is how it is, and that you can do something about it. I really want to stress that this is one of the reasons why National Grief Awareness Day is important, because it raises the awareness, and hopefully today we touched on that and we raised the awareness to everyone that grief is an important issue that we all face at some sort of shape or form, and we need to develop and help people grasp it and realize how to cope. And we need to spread this awareness also, that people don't feel like they're alone. Grief awareness saves life. For some, grief can turn into dangerous and lonely depression. So it is essential to support yourself and others while going through a loss. Be there for one another, cheer up one another, and provide support. Also, once we realize and celebrate this Grief Awareness Day, it also can offer resources. It can be hard to find the resources and organization you need, grieving, but you need to realize that as we share with one another, and as we work with one another, we can help each other to get through no matter how hard the grief and stages come along. We want to also make sure people realize that one of the best ways to deal with your grief and your mourning is to have a relationship with the Lord. Because if you have that relationship, you can somehow find that inner peace that only comes through the knowledge and the understanding of that Jesus is Lord. And this is going to be one of the important steps that you can take, right? And that can help help you to get through some of the more difficult days that you may face in your life. So today we wanted to make sure everybody is up to speed and understand as the National Grief Awareness Day is celebrated. People are in various stages of grief. There's various issues that they're dealing with. But one thing we can say today that, you can get through this. You can come out on the other side and where you find yourself, back to finding happiness and finding the peace that you need. So the important thing is to be aware, know that grief is real. Yes, mourning happens, but doesn't totally deal with grief, because mourning is just that external expression of probably what's going on inside, but you need to deal with that grief so that you can, come around back to be a full functioning person. So be aware and be thoughtful one for another, be there for one another, and, just extend, that hearing that we need. All right. And the one way to do this is, as I said before, is to know the Lord for yourself, understand who He is. You can get with your prayer partners. You can pray by yourself. You can reach out to your pastors, your leaders, and of course, your family doctors are always important. They can help you or direct you also. Sometimes it will take some intensive and extra counseling to get us to, deal with all the things that are going on. But whatever it takes, you need to understand that there's help out there. There is a lot of resources. You can go to, there's, just go to even the internet, and you'll see in your local area what is available. In all the areas, there is people available to help you and to give you the necessary support if you're going through a time of grief. So as we look at and are made aware, this is National Grief Awareness Day, and we want everybody listening today to realize that you're not alone, but there is help for you. So we thank you again for joining us today as we discuss and we gave you an update on the coronavirus, and we talked today about National Grief Awareness Day. We want to make sure each and every one of you are being blessed. You're being covered by the blood of the Lord, and you're just letting the Lord lead and guide you. Again, as I wrap up today, remember, this virus is here trying to stay around. We can make an impact. We can make a difference if we're vaccinated, and then along with that, wearing our mask to decrease the spread of the virus. The viral loads are seem to be similar in people who are vaccinated and versus those who are not when it comes to the Delta variant. So we need to protect ourselves, protect our children, protect our loved ones. Remember, as I said a couple weeks ago, even if you don't want to do this for yourself, do this for someone else that you're going to protect. Get vaccinated, wear your mask, and, let, the Lord lead you and guide. Remember, we're not mandating anything. We're not forcing anyone to do, but we want you to make the right choice. So God bless you today. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful weekend. Blessings, blessings, blessings. And
Turning Point family, what an awesome time we just had. To all our first-time guests, we truly appreciate you for joining our live broadcast. We would like to hear from you, so please send us your comments, questions, or testimonies of how this program has impacted your life. Our email address is info@pflmi.org. Finally, if you feel led at any time to give to this ministry, please visit us at pflmi.org and click on the tab for donations. You can also give via Cash App at $, PFLMIORG. We're looking forward to meeting with you live on next week's program. Have a blessed and prosperous weekend.